So feminism has a lot of really objectionable aspects to it. But one of the better ways to illustrate what they are lies in how they recruit new people to their banner. It goes something like this.
No, I'm not a feminist. I just believe in equal rights, is something I said about a year ago. Little did I know that is feminist.
In so many words, the feminist would say, you are already a feminist, already part of the movement. So you're one of us, really you are. All you have to do is follow our rules, support the causes that we deem correct, and deny any previous or alternative beliefs that you may have previously held. Because you're already pretty much a feminist. Yeah, there's some problems with this. Turns out you're a feminist. Good news! According to feminists, just about everyone is already a feminist, they just don't know it. Apparently, if you believe women are human beings at all, then you're a feminist whether you like it or not. I always thought it was a bit suspicious that no one thought to ask if you believed men were people, especially since the feminist answer to that seems to be no, but maybe that's just a bit postmodern of me. Anyway, we're all feminists. And since there's practically no act, no matter how heinous, that can stop you calling yourself a feminist, you'd think they'd be a bit choosier who they let in. Much like in Islam, there is no right to feminist apostasy. Once you're in, you're in. Even if you don't really know what feminism is today, even if no one bothered to tell you, even if someone just asked you if you believed that men and women should be treated equally, you are a feminist now and forever. Once you're in, and even people like Christina Hoff Sommers and Camille Paglia are allowed to continue to call themselves feminists, even if at times they probably would prefer not to. Once you're on the pink lady train, it's the more the merrier, and they want to convince us all that we're already on it. So why do they play these ludicrous games to convince people to call themselves feminists? Why are they asking you these seemingly simple and obvious questions, and then informing you that you're already part of a movement you probably don't want any part of? Why do they, in short, want to trick people into coming into the fold? The answer's fairly simple. It's because they have to. The thing is that if you tell the average person in the street what the modern feminist movement actually is, what it does, and why, they would never sign up to it. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a feminist charity worker in the street asking people randomly as they pass to sign up to the movement and saying, yes, modern feminism, it's great, we find people with different points of view and we harass them and bully them and we try to have them arrested for made up crimes. So do you want to join? No, this recruiting strategy is never going to work. Instead, they prefer to conscript people, to draft them into feminists, to make them into a feminist army to unleash upon the world. In doing so, ironically, they do deny them their consent, their free will and their personal agency, but given the rest of feminist beliefs, this is a hypocrisy that frankly is hardly worth commenting on. The majority of people really don't know what the modern feminist movement is. They know the old movement, the good movement, the one that was about universal human rights and egalitarian principles. But they don't know what the modern feminist movement is. It lives out on Twitter, it lives on Tumblr, it doesn't live in the real world. And so, when they are asked, do you want to be a feminist? They believe that it's still this positive force, that presumably because there are still feminists, there must still be places in the Western world where female rights are being abridged, and they want to stand against it, which they should. But that's not modern feminism. They are playing off the goodwill of good people and lying to them. It doesn't matter how right you think you are. If you have to lie to people to gull them into your movement is not a positive force. A strong argument should become more persuasive the more you find out about it. A weak argument becomes less persuasive the more you know. When someone is trying to get you to sign up based on a trivial and obvious assertion like women are people with no further information, they know for certain that the more you know, the less likely you are to believe in it. This kind of activity has a name. It is called a cult. But what could they do to be more honest? Well, they could ask people, do you believe there is a nameless, faceless group of men whose single goal is to beat and rape women to prevent them from getting pink in their man things? Why don't they ask them that? Why don't they ask people, do you believe there is a patriarchy in the West? Why do they not ask it? Because it is a ludicrous assertion. Just on the face of it, no one is signing up for that. The worst thing is that that's not even really a distortion of their beliefs. That's perhaps somewhat sarcastically phrased, but in truth, that is very much at the core of what it means to be a feminist. Belief in the patriarchy, belief in organised systems of men using violence to control women. And if you put it to normal people in those terms, they'll tell you to get fucked, because that's stupid. That is a conspiracy theory. And so instead of presenting this insane and utterly implausible idea to people and asking them to sign up to their belief in that, they hide it away. They don't want the casual person knowing that they believe in this madness. This is exactly like a cult saying, do you feel like you are unfulfilled as a person? Do you think that you need some spiritual guidance? Hiding the fact that their church is waiting for a comet to pass so they can kill themselves and arrive on the spaceship. They are hiding the insanity of their beliefs purely so that they can gull the weak and the gullible into their fold. They don't want to tell people about patriarchy, which, ironically, by feminist logic, if you aren't fighting the patriarchy, if you aren't talking about the patriarchy, you're part of the patriarchy and thus part of your problem. So if you want to smash patriarchy, you need to start by smashing all the feminists who don't talk about patriarchy, but we'll leave that for a moment. The thing is that without patriarchy, absolutely nothing that feminists say makes sense, and they're just leaving it out. If there's no patriarchy, then there are no systems of oppression. A rape is no longer an act of violence against women as a class by men as a class to keep women as a class subservient. It's just a crime committed by one person against one other person for reasons that are probably unique to that case. Without patriarchy, feminists cannot lay every single crime at the feet of all men everywhere. With no patriarchy, feminists have nothing. They have no right to be a victim, no right to demonise all men by the actions of a very, very few. They have no licence to hate and deride any opposition. And yet, despite this, they are so unsure of their position and so aware of how ludicrous it sounds that they won't even tell people who they are trying to convince to become feminists that this belief exists. The truth is that, much like Scientologists, much like UFO cultists, they don't want people to think too hard about what they're signing up to. They want to start them off with something easy. They want to set them down a path to discovering the truth inside the movement by themselves. They in fact want to prime their brains with good ideas. They want to convince you so much that feminism is positive, that it is a good force in the world, that when you find out about their crazy core of inner beliefs, you will accept it. You will say, well, all of these other people believe it, and look at all of the things we're doing. So surely surely there must be a patriarchy. There must be, because otherwise all of this is ludicrous. Everything that I've done for the past several months has been meaningless. It has in fact been worse than meaningless. I have been disseminating mistruths to people. So, of course there's a patriarchy. There must be. This is, in effect, a form of brainwashing. This is a mystery cult, almost. Or perhaps a form of Freemasonry, where the truths are revealed the further into the movement you get. But once you're in the movement, you're done. You are blinkered to reality. You cannot believe anything else. So why are they doing this? Why are they forming this cult around nonsense, around discredited ideas? Why are they asking people such deceptive and leading questions in order to get them to sign up? Well, it's simple. Feminism is not about women. It's not about patriarchy even. Feminism is about power. They want the clout that comes with a lot of on-paper members with none of the wrangling over ideology that teaching their actual belief would come with. This is why it's unthinkable to a feminist that if you share any amount of their beliefs or their theoretical beliefs, that you would not call yourself a feminist. A feminist cannot accept that you would call yourself an egalitarian or a humanist or just a human being. You must subscribe to their beliefs because you on their list makes them more powerful. This is why they so vehemently oppose other human rights groups. It's why particularly they have to fight the men's rights movement, because even though in theory the feminist movement and the men's rights movement are fighting for the exact same things, just with man instead of woman, the feminist movement cannot make allies with the MRM. Simply because the MRM don't call themselves feminists. The MRM is no good to feminism because they are not making feminism more powerful, even if they believe the exact same things. In a democracy, power emanates from large blocks of citizenry, from the people voting, the people standing up for their movement. And that's why feminism has to go through this ridiculous charade to persuade anyone to become a feminist, or at least to call themselves a feminist. They are not bothered particularly if you actually share their beliefs. They are not bothered, in fact, if you are secretly a misogynist, as the majority of feminists who abnegate female agency actually are. All they care about is that they can add another person to their list, to the power block that they can call on. This is currency within the political sphere. These large groups of people, as represented by groups like the NRA, big, powerful blocks of people with money and influence, and feminism wants to be one of them. They do not care about individual women. They do not care about individual anything. All they want is to be a collective that can buy itself favours with your assent. The way to fight this is not to stand for it. The way to fight it is to say, no, I am not a feminist. I know what your movement stands for, and I want no part of it. I'm the political animal, and we have to fight these people, because no one else will.